Lover's Moon, a novel by Mark Leslie and Julie Strauss. Read by the authors. Monday, May 23rd, 2011.
Chapter 6. Gail. "There's the woman I want to see," Izabeau called out when she walked into the store. Her thick black locks were woven into an elaborate knot on the crown of her head, an arrangement that would have weakened the muscles of mere mortals. But as usual, Iz strode in with a ramrod straight back, her long neck sturdy and upright. "Am I in trouble again?" I asked, although I already knew the answer. I had replied to her texts throughout the night, assuring her that I was okay, just talking, everything was fine. But I'd known while I walked the city with Michael that there would be hell to pay today. "Let's go through your last few lovers, shall we? I want you to remind me who you are attracted to." I groaned, and Izabeau held up her hand, her delicate fingers topped with black painted talons spread out so she could enumerate her undoubtedly correct and copious points. "Peter," she said, putting her thumb into her palm. "Oh, that's not fair," I said. "That was years ago. Decades." "It was 4 years ago. What was wrong with him?" "He cheated, and he had BO. She didn't laugh at my joke, which is how I knew I was in trouble." "What about that Norwegian dude, Nils Nilsson?" "You know damn well that wasn't his name." "Tell me then." She still had her 4 fingers up in the air, and she was actually licking her lips with anticipation. "Lars," I said, just wanting to get the conversation over with. "Oh, that's right. Lars Lorentzen, the Norwegian tattoo artist who forgot to tell his wife they were in a poly relationship. Therefore, also a cheater. Who came after that? Let's see. Mick, Bloody Mick, the aging rock star who lived in a Fifth Avenue penthouse and drank bathtub gin. And then there was Nessie, who I thought was nice enough. Except that every time I went looking for her, she disappeared. Oh, of course, she disappeared. To cheat. And then after her came Jonathan? Thomas. Ah, yes, Thomas. What was his deal? He liked young women on the internet. She smacked her forehead melodramatically. Of course, it wasn't technically cheating because it was all virtual. Then came Jonathan, who bled you dry emotionally and financially, and cheated. I sighed, and she opened her hand again. I'm not sure if she was about to reiterate a point or show off those nails. Honestly, I knew what she spent every week at the salon, and if I was her, I would enumerate everything too. In summary, she said, we had a Yeti, an ogre, a kraken, the Loch Ness Monster, a Tommyknocker, and an emotional vampire. Did I miss anyone? I shook my head. She was not technically wrong about any of it. So, your new guy, she said. Oh my God, he's not my new guy, I said very loudly, but my point was diminished because a group of goth teens entered the store. Hello, goddesses. I saw how the girls were instantly entranced by Izabeau's gravelly voice and the glitter she dusted across her high cheekbones. Iz wafted her very expensive hand through the air, practically hypnotizing them. As you can see, we're having some construction problems, she said. All that merchandise up front is half off. It has honey damage, but it's still spiritually functional. There are hand wipes on the counter if you get sticky. When not overrun by feral bees, our store is actually a very well-appointed, very classy place. Iz and I had painted the rich green walls ourselves and installed dark wood flooring, where we placed baskets full of hand-woven blankets and sage bundles and incense packets. The girls rushed to the clearance table, and Iz turned back to me. Now that we've established why you should not be allowed to date, let's reiterate the vow of celibacy that you swore. I hated it so much when she was right. Can we just get to work? I asked. I've gotten 3 more estimates from pest control companies, and the only one that was a lower price than yesterday's guy was the one who showed up this morning with no shirt on. He wanted me to see the gigantic bee tattoo on his belly. Cool, Iz replied. Why didn't you hire anyone? 2 reasons. For one, we have to find a bee-friendly company, meaning we can't let them kill the bees. Obviously, Iz agreed. Second, The bee-friendly companies tend to be about 5 times more expensive. Len, of course, is not willing to pay. He says bees are pests, and he'll just take a hose up there and clean it out himself. Izabeau snorted. I would love to see that. The door opened again, and another woman walked inside. When I mention that I run an occult shop, everyone assumes it's full of stoners and hippies and black leather-clad Satan worshippers. We do get a few of those types, but most people would be surprised by the diversity of our clientele. We have a lot of devoted occult practitioners, but many of our clients are just curious shoppers or history buffs. Some are disillusioned with modern religion, some want to try a magic spell. A lot of people want costumes or props, which we don't carry, but they usually leave with a nice scented candle for their suburban home. The people who want the darker magic supplies know what to look for, and I've learned not to judge anyone who walks in. This new customer was as straight edge as a woman could be, dressed in a chic camel-colored pantsuit with shiny hair cut into a sharp pixie. Iz repeated her sales spiel to the woman and turned back to me. But I kept my eyes on this customer who seemed tense and skittish, her eyes continually darting over at me. So, my suggestion is we liquidate now and start looking for a new location, I murmured to Iz, whose eyes widened. You want to quit? I said find a new location, I said firmly, not quit. By the time this bee issue is resolved, we may have lost too much business to recover. Why not get out while we can? Because we have an annual lease. Well, breaking it might be cheaper than shoveling money into the shop to keep it afloat while Len the lizard sorts out his life. The woman looked up at me again, and when she realized I was staring right at her, she attempted a weak smile. Just try me, bitch, I thought. I can spot a klepto a mile away. This one didn't fit the usual profile, but if she thought she'd walk out of here with a tarot deck stuffed into her, no doubt, very expensive French bra, she was going to find out what happens when you piss off a brunette. When my phone rang, I glanced down at the screen and tried to hide the shiver of pleasure that ran through me when I saw Michael Andrews' phone number. I felt the woman watching me more openly now, so I murmured, Lydia's here, to Iz, and answered the phone. As soon as I said that, Iz snapped to attention and her sharp eyes locked on the woman. You don't ever want to tip off a potential thief that you're onto them in case they turn out to not be a thief. People tend to get angry at the accusation. Iz and I had come up with the code word while watching Beetlejuice on television because Winona Ryder played Lydia. All I can say is it made perfect sense when we were stoned. The back wall of our store used to hold several beautiful altars, but it was now bare except for the streaks of honey running down the green paint. I leaned in close and breathed in the spicy, sweet scent, cloves and marshmallows. My mouth watered. I was suddenly hyper-aware of how my hips moved as I talked to him, swaying languidly left and right like I was keeping time with a song in my head. And did I actually giggle? I noticed my finger drifting along the curve of the shelf, and it stopped in a pool of honey that had gathered in the corner. I put my finger in my mouth, and the sugar melted onto my tongue. My senses overloaded with the heady sweetness of warm honey and the low murmur of Michael's deep, growling voice. When the call ended, I took a deep breath and turned back to the store. I could feel a hot flush on my face, but overall I thought I had held it together pretty well. The woman was still there, but the teens had left. Iz narrowed her dark eyes at me. You're meeting him tonight? Yes, to work with him, for money, which we need in case you hadn't noticed. Where are you going? This question came from the woman. She didn't have any merchandise in her hand, but she was leaning up against the counter, arms splayed out as if she was telling us a secret. For dinner? I asked. I don't know, some Thai place. What time? I glanced at Izabeau. Why? Oh, she laughed and looked fake embarrassed, as if I'd just caught her in a really meaningless lie. No reason. I'm just kind of looking forward to trying something new tonight, and I don't really know much about Thai food, so I thought maybe if I see you there, you could help me with the menu. Yeah, right. 25,000 restaurants in New York City, and you want to go to the one I'm going to? I don't think so, lady. This one was creeping me out, and that was saying a lot from an occult shop owner. I leveled her with my coolest gaze, and I was glad I'd worn my black lipstick today. Sometimes it's nice to have a face like mine. Resting bitch face, the kids call it, which is totally unfair. But still, when I'm really mad, I can go dark in 1 second flat, and it does come in handy. I'm sure the waiters can help you read a menu. Is there anything else you need from us? The woman left without another word. Well, that was bizarre, Iz commented. I didn't answer. Something about this encounter had unsettled me. Maybe she was trying to ask you out. You wish, I retorted. As a matter of fact, I do wish, Iz replied, because if you go out with her, you can't go out with that writer, Andrew what's-his-name. Michael Andrews. I know you know who he is. We watched that Maxwell Bronte miniseries together. She didn't reply. How about this, I said. I amend my previous vow. Celibacy means I won't have sex, but I can date if a nice person comes along. Isn't that healthy? Wouldn't you like that for me, Iz? Maybe it's a super mature way to find a good partner. I can have leisurely dates and get to know people intimately for a long time, and after a year, if any of them pass my and your entrance exam, I will invite them into my boudoir. I overpronounce the word, boudoir, because it always makes Iz laugh when I pretend I speak French. Just know this, she said. I will pick you up every time you fall, Gail Summers. Every single time. You know I will. But I want you to know that I have less energy for it each time you repeat the same mistake. My eyes filled unexpectedly with tears, and I pulled her into a hug. No one in the history of best friends has ever had a best friend better than mine. But she and I don't necessarily tell each other everything. For example, she didn't know that at this very moment, there was a brand new pack of condoms in my purse.
You've been listening to Lover's Moon, a paranormal romantic comedy by Mark Leslie and Julie Strauss. Read by the authors. Lover's Moon is book 5 in the Canadian Werewolf Series, published by Stark Publishing and available in print, ebook, and audiobook. The music used in this production, Waltz Primordial by Kevin MacLeod featuring Alexander Nakarada, was licensed via Incomptech.com and is copyrighted by Kevin MacLeod.